عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And a lot of times we skip أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ and we go straight to أَعِزَّةٍ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ, because that's easier. You know, أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. They are powerless, weak, humble, meek, soft in their dealings with believers. They are easygoing with believers. They're forgiving with believers. They're courteous in their language. They're not judgmental. They're not harsh with other Muslims. One of the worst qualities of a community that claims to be a believing community is that they are judgmental and harsh and backstabbing towards each other. This is one of the worst qualities Bani Israel had developed. So when Allah reminded them of the fundamentals of their deen, He included in those fundamentals, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak to people nicely. Speak to people nicely. You'll find nowadays, unfortunately, a stigma associated with Muslims. The more religious they get, the more constipated they get socially. The more difficult it is to talk to them, the angrier they look. If the guy's got a beard, it means he's just constantly going to be upset at something. And you're going to avoid trying to talk to him. If a woman starts wearing hijab, it just means she's going to judge you because you're not wearing one, and she will look at you with eyes that'll burn right through your hair. Right? That's the perception. But the closer you come to deen, that much more you're supposed to become courteous and kind and generous and understanding and forgiving of others. That's what you're supposed to be. Instead of looking at someone who's living in ignorance. A lot of Muslims do ignorant things nowadays. Maybe your friends do and you don't do them anymore. But if your friends are doing ignorant things, your first thought is, astaghfirullah, these people, I can't believe they're my friends. Such ignorance they do. They do bid'ah, they do kufr, they do shirk, they do haram, they don't care about anything. You were that guy 2 years ago. That was you. Who guided you? You guided yourself? وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا. The same ayah which says, فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. He put love between your hearts is the same ayah that says you were at the very edge of hell. You were at the edge of the ditch. And He rescued you. So when somebody else is at the edge of the ditch, instead of getting angry at them and kicking them off, be patient, be courteous, be patient. And sometimes you come and ask the imam and the scholar, I'm trying to give da'wah to my brother or to my friend. It's been like 2 months. Nothing's happening. What should I do? Give me some magical thing to say. Tell me what I can do. You know what? What's Nuh alayhi salam's magic trick? It's sabr. He's talking to his own son for a very long time. The same community for a very long time. And it's not like he talks to a group of people and they don't listen. He says, you know what? I'm packing my bags. I'm going somewhere else. Maybe I'll find a better crowd elsewhere. Nope. Same crowd. Same crowd. We have to be patient with each other, especially believers. Especially believers. And that's Nuh alayhi salam with kuffar. That's him with kuffar. That's the messenger for a decade, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with the Quraysh of Makkah, the worst of the worst. For a decade. We're talking about Muslim families. We're talking about your own friends and neighbors. We have to humble ourselves before them. It's a very serious problem, arrogance. One of the great central teachings of our religion, La ilaha illallah, the beginning of our religion, is acknowledging the greatness of Allah. And the more you realize Allah's greatness, the natural result of that should be, the more you realize your own lesser status. The more you declare Allah's greatness, the more humble you should become. That's the natural result of declaring La ilaha illallah. Every time you and I say Allahu Akbar, it is not just a statement of Allah's greatness, it's a statement of our own weakness. It's a statement of our own humility. But when people who say Allahu Akbar then pass judgment of anybody who walks into the masjid, and they look at the size of their beard, or they look at how they're dressed, or they look at the accent of their language, when that happens, when people who even work in Islamic causes look at each other with suspicious eyes, when they can't trust each other, when people say salam without meaning salam, assalamu alaikum, all of you know what that means. But what it implies is there's no beef between us. I don't dislike you. I love you. There's absolute peace and harmony between us. But when you say, Assalamu alaikum, brother, you don't mean it. You mean the exact opposite. I hate your guts, brother. But you're saying Assalamu alaikum. That's what you're saying. And this is absolute hypocrisy. You cannot say Assalamu alaikum to someone and have feelings against them. You can't. Then you're saying something you don't mean. That's what you're doing. So you and I, we have to, internalize أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ first. Humbled before the believers. أَعِزَّةٍ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. And they are tough, harsh, authoritative against kafirin. And kafirin here is not non-Muslims. Kafirin is here enemies of Islam. Kafirin is here who are trying to undermine Islam. The Muslims were not harsh with all non-Muslims in Medina. Who were they harsh with? The enemies of Islam. Those who were trying to undermine Islam, attack Islam, insult the religion, say things against the Prophet, say things against the Quran. Those who were trying to attack Medina from Mecca. Those people, they have to be harsh towards them. They're not going to back off. They're not going to take it sitting. They stand up for themselves. So what we're learning here is a fine line between, we're not arrogant because we're humble. At the same time, it's not like you can walk all over us either. We stand up for ourselves. We don't take it sitting down. Our young men, a lot of you that go to public school, young men and our girls, they go to public school and people pass comments at them. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for yourself. Don't take it just, I have to be patient and I have to be humble, and you're walking like, you've got a back surgery or something, your back is lowered, and you think this is like Islamic, that you have to, look like you're weak or you're sick or something. No. We have to lower our gaze, that's fine, but that doesn't mean we have to lower our heads. It doesn't mean that. We have to be confident people. We have to instill confidence in our deen so much, that when we see kufr, we look at its inferiority. We see how inferior and pathetic it is. And we see the pride and the greatness that Allah has given us in Islam. We're not arrogant, but we certainly are confident. That's what we have to be. أَعِزَّةٍ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. And then Allah goes further to say, لَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. They're not afraid of the blame of any blamer. In other words, people will say things to us. People will accuse us of things. People will accuse, literally lawm, accuse. People will accuse us of things. The Peter Kings of the world will accuse us of things before Congress. They will do so. But we won't be afraid of it. We're not going to go, do you know what he said about Muslims? Oh my God, what's going to happen now? No. We knew what was going to happen. We knew what was going to come. And we're not afraid of it. We don't have to explain ourselves to you. You don't have to tell us, you guys are crazy, this, that, or the other, and we have to exhaust our breath telling you, no, we're not crazy, we're normal, we're okay. No, that's what they want. They want to keep us busy, constantly telling them that we're not crazy. That we're not, Muslims are not violent, Muslims are not extremists, Muslims are not this, Muslims are not that. They want us to make a whole list of things that Muslims are not. So we never get to tell them what Muslims are. Right? That's the point. You're constantly busy explaining yourself.